The black wolf should have torn Maeve apart. He had already driven 3 healers back from the rear courtyard, snapping hard enough to crack the wooden rail beside them. Silver glittered inside the wounds along his ribs, and every breath came shallow. Still, when Alpha Garrick ordered everyone away from the rogue, the enormous beast remained standing. Then Maeve stepped toward him. His lips peeled from his teeth. She knelt anyway. The growl died. Before anyone could stop her, the wolf lowered his massive head into the lap of the Omega healer, who was forbidden to touch an Alpha. Where are you listening from tonight? Tell me in the comments so I know how far this story has traveled. And stay with Maeve, because before this is over, everyone in Briar Glen will understand why this wolf chose the one healer their laws told him to reject. Maeve barely heard Garrick shouting from the lodge door. Her fingers hovered above the wolf's neck. I won't hurt you, but I need your permission. Amber eyes fixed on hers. Slowly, deliberately, he pressed his muzzle against her palm. Consent. Maeve's wolf stirred with a strange recognition she couldn't explain. She found the first silver fragment beneath his shoulder. It should have been lodged where the blade had broken. Instead, a dark line stretched away from it beneath his skin, almost like the metal was searching for something deeper. That frightened her more than the teeth. This isn't ordinary silver, she whispered. The wolf's ear twitched. Maeve worked until the moon sank behind the pines. 1 fragment became 4, then 7. Each time she removed one, his breathing eased, yet the darkness beneath his skin refused to disappear. Once, while cleaning the deepest wound, Maeve felt a second pulse beneath her fingertips. It wasn't his heartbeat. It was slower, older, answering something inside her. For one alarming second, her own wolf went perfectly quiet. Maeve pulled her hand back. The black wolf lifted his head, watching her as if he had felt the silence too. Near dawn, he finally pushed himself upright. Maeve opened the back gate before Garrick returned. You can go now, she said softly. If they find you here, I won't be able to protect you. The forest waited beyond the fence. The wolf looked at Freedom, then at Maeve. He stepped away from the gate and sat beside her instead, and beneath the bandage on his ribs, something black moved towards his heart. Maeve woke to claws scratching at her bedroom door. For one confused second, she thought she had dreamed the enormous black wolf, the silver fragments, and the impossible moment when her own wolf had gone silent beneath her skin. Then came another scratch, not frantic, impatient. Maeve opened the narrow door above the healer's lodge and found him sitting in the hallway. You climbed the stairs? The wolf stared at her. His bandaged ribs made the achievement considerably less amusing. You were supposed to leave. He rose. Maeve pointed toward the staircase. Forest. Freedom. Remember? He walked past her into the room. Maeve closed her eyes. Wonderful. By sunrise, everyone in Briar Glen knew the rogue had survived. By breakfast, everyone knew he followed Maeve. The wolf waited outside while she changed an elderly woman's dressing. He followed her to the herb garden. When Maeve carried fever medicine to a family near the eastern cottages, he limped behind her, despite repeated orders to stay. Children adored him from a safe distance. Adults did not. They smelled alpha dominance even if they couldn't identify its source. Maeve felt it too. No ordinary rogue moved like this one. Even wounded, he watched doorways before entering courtyards. He positioned himself between Maeve and strangers without crowding her. When frightened wolves passed, he lowered his head instead of challenging them. He behaved less like an exile than someone accustomed to protecting territory and people. That question bothered Maeve all morning. The second question was worse. Why had he chosen her? At midday, senior healer Lucan Vey found Maeve grinding willow bark while the wolf lay beneath the window. Lucan's pale eyes narrowed. Alpha Garrick ordered that animal removed. He isn't attacking anyone. He attacked 3 healers. They approached with restraints. Lucan's mouth tightened. And you believe that excuses it? No, Maeve kept grinding. I believe frightened patients sometimes resist. Lucan glanced toward the window. Patience. One word was enough to remind her of her place. Maeve was permitted to set broken fingers, soothe fevers, deliver pups, clean ordinary wounds, and spend nights beside dying elders when higher healers wanted sleep. But an Alpha, never without supervision. Rank, Briar Glen claimed, protected both healer and patient. Maeve remembered her mother calling it something else, a locked door with respectable hinges. Lucan reached for the medical satchel beside Maeve. I'll examine him. The wolf was on his feet before Lucan touched the latch. A warning rumbled through the wall. Lucan froze. Maeve didn't. She stepped outside. Easy. The wolf's attention shifted immediately toward her. Lucan followed more cautiously. Hold him. Maeve looked back. No. His expression sharpened. Excuse me? If he doesn't want you touching him, I'm not holding him down. You're an Omega healer, and he's still a patient. Lucan's face hardened. For several seconds, neither moved. Then he gave a thin smile. Compassion is admirable, Maeve. Confusing it with authority is dangerous. He walked away. The wolf watched until Lucan disappeared. Then he looked at Maeve. Don't look pleased. His tail struck the ground once. Maeve stared. Did you just laugh at me? The tail moved again. Against her better judgment, she smiled. It vanished when the wolf stumbled. Maeve caught his shoulder. Pain flashed through her palms. Not ordinary pain. Something cold moved beneath his skin. She pulled away. The sensation stopped. The wolf remained standing, but his breathing had changed. Inside. Now. He obeyed. Maeve removed the bandage and found clean flesh where the worst wound had been. Wolves healed quickly, especially powerful ones. That part made sense. The dark line beneath his skin did not. It had moved several inches toward his chest. Maeve fetched tweezers. The wolf watched her prepare them. This will hurt. His eyes remained on hers. Maeve placed her palm near his shoulder but didn't touch. Same rule as last night. You decide. The wolf leaned into her hand. That strange second pulse returned. Maeve swallowed. She followed the dark line with her fingertips and sensed something embedded deeper than flesh. It felt almost like hearing a distant voice through a wall. Her mother had once caught Maeve doing this to an injured fox. Never reach for the second heartbeat, Alara had warned. Maeve had been 9. She hadn't understood. Now she did something equally foolish. She reached. The room disappeared. For one heartbeat, Maeve felt 2 creatures inside the body beneath her hand. The man, the wolf, and between them, silver threads were cutting through something that should never have been touched. Maeve jerked backward. The black wolf surged upright. I'm fine. He didn't believe her. Neither did she. A thin black mark had appeared beneath the skin of her wrist. Maeve rubbed it. It vanished. Then she reached inward for her own wolf. Nothing answered. Her stomach dropped. Come on. Still nothing. She closed her eyes. Usually her wolf was always there, a quiet presence behind thought, sometimes restless, sometimes sleepy, never absent. Maeve pressed 2 fingers to her chest, then, faintly, warmth returned. Her wolf stirred. Maeve exhaled. The black wolf pushed his muzzle beneath her hand. I'm all right. He remained there. Maeve wondered whether she was reassuring him or herself. She returned to the wound using only tweezers. No reaching. No second heartbeat. Near the dark line, she found another silver fragment, no larger than a grain of rice. When it struck the metal tray, the wolf shuddered. Maeve expected the dark line to fade. Instead, it disappeared from his shoulder. A second later, it appeared nearer his heart. Maeve stopped breathing. Silver didn't move like that. Poison didn't choose a destination. Something had been done to him, deliberately. That afternoon, Maeve searched the lodge archives while her patient slept beside the shelves. Most books discussing silver poisoning said the same things she already knew. Then she found an older volume behind a warped cabinet. Its pages mentioned weapons designed during forgotten wars to damage the bond between a shifter's human mind and wolf spirit. The relevant pages had been removed. Maeve stared at the torn paper. Convenient. The wolf opened one eye. Above the cabinet was a stone relief Maeve had seen since childhood. She had never paid much attention to it. A small silver wolf stood beside a massive black wolf. Between them were two open hands. No crown, no chain, no alpha marks. Beneath the image, age had nearly erased the inscription. Maeve traced the remaining words, "Open hands." The black wolf rose. He approached the relief and stared at it. Then he looked at Maeve's hands. A chill traveled across her shoulders. "You recognize this?" His ears shifted forward. Before Maeve could examine the carving more closely, the front door slammed open. Alpha Garrick entered with 4 enforcers. Lucan stood behind them. Of course he did. Garrick Thorne filled the doorway without effort. He was broad, iron-haired, and carried authority like armor. His gaze found the wolf, then Maeve. "I gave an order." Maeve stood. "The animal is still injured. That animal is an unidentified alpha inside my territory. Then let him recover enough to leave." Garrick's eyes hardened. "You don't decide what risks this pack accepts." The wolf stepped beside Maeve, not ahead of her. Beside her, Garrick noticed. "So that's how it is." Maeve disliked his tone. "He trusts me. An alpha doesn't follow an omega healer because of trust." Something inside the black wolf changed. Maeve felt it before she heard the growl. Garrick's enforcers reached for their weapons. No, Maeve stepped between them. Every eye turned toward her. Her heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "No restraints, no silver. Nobody touches him unless he permits it." Garrick stared at her as if she had forgotten what she was. Perhaps she had. Or perhaps, for once, Maeve remembered exactly. Lucan spoke quietly. "She's compromised." Maeve looked at him. "I removed 8 pieces of silver from this wolf. There's another substance moving through his body, and someone tore the relevant pages from our archive." Lucan went very still. Only for a moment. Maeve saw it. So did the wolf. "Accusations now?" Lucan asked. "Observation." Garrick stepped closer. "Enough. The rogue leaves before sunset." Maeve looked toward the black wolf. He could barely hide the pain in his stance. If Garrick forced him into the forest, whatever was traveling toward his heart might finish its work before morning. Maeve knew what obedience would buy her: safety, her position, perhaps even Lucan's forgiveness. She also knew what it might cost the creature standing beside her. Her mother's voice returned from years ago. "A healer does not get to choose who deserves saving." Maeve lifted her chin. "Then record that I'm responsible for him." Garrick's expression changed. "Think carefully." "I have. If he attacks someone, that's on you." "I understand. If he's an enemy scout, that's on you." "I understand. And when this ends badly, don't expect your rank to protect you." Maeve almost laughed. Her rank had never protected her. "I understand." Garrick turned toward the door. "Sunset tomorrow. After that, I remove him myself." The enforcers followed. Lucan remained a second longer. His gaze dropped to Maeve's wrist. The place where the black mark had appeared. Maeve instinctively covered it. Lucan smiled without warmth. Then he left. The lodge became quiet. Maeve looked down at the wolf. "Well, I just risked my livelihood for an animal who refuses basic instructions." He leaned against her leg. That wasn't gratitude. His eyes closed. Maeve rested her fingers against his neck. No strange pulse this time. She was relieved. Almost. Outside, evening settled over Briar Glen. Inside, the wolf slept while Maeve returned to the damaged archive. She examined the torn pages again. Someone had removed them recently. The exposed paper was lighter than the edges surrounding it. She checked the catalog. The missing section had once carried a title, Hollow Silver and the Severing of Sovereign Bonds. Maeve read the words twice. Behind her, the black wolf woke with a violent gasp. His claws scraped the floor. Maeve spun. For one terrifying moment, his amber eyes were empty. Then he recognized her. The darkness beneath his ribs pulsed once. Closer to his heart, Maeve dropped beside him. "Stay with me." His muzzle pressed against her shoulder. She wrapped both arms around his neck without thinking. Somewhere beyond the lodge, a horn sounded from Briar Glen's northern watchtower. Once, twice, then a third time. Maeve stiffened. 3 calls meant armed strangers approaching pack territory. The wolf lifted his head. Pain disappeared from his expression beneath something far more startling. Recognition. He knew who was coming, and for the first time since Maeve had found him bleeding behind the lodge, the enormous black wolf tried to stand before she asked him to. The horn sounded a 4th time. Maeve had never heard a 4th call. Around Briar Glen, doors opened. Wolves emerged from cottages and workshops, some half-dressed, others already carrying weapons. Alpha Garrick's enforcers ran toward the northern gate. The black wolf pushed past Maeve. His injured leg nearly buckled. "Absolutely not." She caught his shoulder. He looked at her. "Whatever is coming, you are in no condition to fight it." Another horn call rolled across the settlement. The wolf ignored her and started toward the door. Maeve planted herself in front of him. "No." He stopped. She almost smiled despite the fear crawling through her stomach. "So you do understand that word." His ears flattened. Outside, boots thundered past. Maeve reached for the fresh bandage around his ribs. "If you tear this open, I'm sewing you to the floor." The wolf stared at her for a long moment. Then he sat. Maeve blinked. "Thank you." He looked offended by the entire concept. The northern gate opened before Maeve finished checking his wound. No battle followed. Instead, the noise outside simply stopped. Maeve stepped onto the lodge porch. 20 riders entered Briar Glen beneath black and silver banners, not pack colors, royal colors. Every rider wore the same dark armor. At their front rode a woman with braided blonde hair and a scar across her chin. Garrick met them in the square. "This is Briar Glen territory," he called. "State your purpose." The woman dismounted. "We're looking for someone. Who?" She didn't answer. Her gaze moved past Garrick, straight toward the healer's lodge. Maeve felt the wolf come up beside her. The commander's face changed. Relief struck first, then fury, then something Maeve could not understand at all. She dropped to one knee. Every royal guard behind her did the same. Garrick stared. Maeve stared harder. The commander bowed her head. "Your Majesty?" Maeve's hand slowly fell away from the wolf's bandage. "No." The enormous black wolf stood perfectly still. The commander looked up. "We've been searching for you for 2 days, Alpha King." Maeve forgot how to breathe. The rogue beside her was Alpha King Cassian Vale, the most powerful wolf in the northern packs, and Maeve had spent the previous night ordering him to stay, threatening to sew him to a floor, and accusing him of lacking basic manners. Her knees weakened. Cassian glanced at her. There was unmistakable amusement in his amber eyes. "Oh, don't you dare," Maeve whispered. His tail moved once. Garrick recovered first. "That is Cassian Vale?" The commander rose. "Choose your next words carefully, Alpha Thorn." Garrick's face drained of color. Cassian stepped from the porch. His body shuddered. Maeve recognized the beginning of a shift and immediately moved toward him, then stopped. An Alpha King. She had touched an Alpha King without authorization, again and again. She had slept beside him on the lodge floor when his fever rose. She had put his head in her lap. Packlaw suddenly felt less like words and more like a blade hanging above her. Cassian shifted. Black fur receded. The enormous wolf became a tall man who would have looked imposing even without 20 royal guards kneeling nearby. Dark hair fell across his forehead. His face was leaner than Maeve expected, marked by exhaustion and several days without sleep. A thin scar disappeared beneath the collar of the cloak. A guard rushed forward to give him. Cassian accepted it. He refused the guard's offered arm. Then his gaze found Maeve. Human eyes should have made the connection between them weaker. Instead, Maeve felt it more sharply. Pine smoke, winter cedar, rain-dark stone. Her wolf surged awake inside her with such force that Maeve gripped the porch railing. Cassian's expression tightened. He had felt something too. Neither spoke of it. Garrick approached. "Your Majesty, had I known, you would have done what?" Cassian's voice was quiet. That made everyone listen harder. Garrick stopped. Cassian glanced toward Maeve. "Removed the healer who kept me alive? Pack law prohibits an Omega from treating high-ranking wolves without supervision. Was I unconscious when I accepted her treatment? No, but did she restrain me?" Garrick's jaw tightened. "No. Did she force contact?" "No." Cassian looked at Maeve. She suddenly understood why he had watched her so carefully each time she asked permission before touching him. Then the matter seems remarkably simple. Lucan emerged from behind the gathered healers. "Your Majesty, with respect, Maeve is not trained for royal cases. I should examine you immediately." Cassian turned toward him. The reaction was instantaneous, not a growl this time. Something heavier entered his voice. "No." Several nearby wolves lowered their eyes instinctively. Maeve felt the pressure too, but it vanished almost immediately. Cassian had pulled it back. Lucan swallowed. "Your condition may be serious." "It is. Then surely—" "Maeve." She looked up. Cassian didn't command her. He asked, "Will you continue treating me?" The square seemed to shrink around them. Maeve knew what everyone expected. An Omega did not refuse an Alpha. Certainly not this Alpha. But Cassian waited as though her answer could genuinely be no. That unsettled her more than an order would have. "I need to know what happened to you. I'll tell you what I can, and I decide when treatment stops." "Yes. If I tell you not to use your authority on me, you don't." Something flickered across Garrick's face. Cassian only nodded. "Agreed." Maeve released the railing. "Then yes." A murmur moved through the square. Cassian ignored it. For the first time since Maeve had learned his identity, the panic in her chest eased. Not because he was her king, because he had given her a choice when no one else would have questioned his right to take one away. The blonde commander introduced herself as Captain Rhea Calder. Inside the lodge, she explained the attack. Cassian had been traveling secretly between packs after 3 shipments of ceremonial silver disappeared from royal stores. Someone ambushed his small escort near Briar Glen. "The weapons weren't designed to kill quickly," Rhea said. Maeve looked toward Cassian. He sat on the examination table while she changed his bandage. "That matches what I found." She showed them the archive entry. Hollow silver and the severing of sovereign bonds. Rhea swore softly. Cassian didn't. "When is the Blood Moon Covenant?" Maeve asked. Rhea and Cassian exchanged a look. "Tomorrow night," Cassian said. Maeve's hands stopped. She knew enough about the Covenant to understand its purpose. Once each generation, and again during periods of instability, the Alpha King renewed the wards connecting Crown territory to the packs that accepted royal protection. You can't perform it. Garrick, standing near the door, gave a humorless laugh. "That isn't your decision." Maeve turned. "If this substance attacks his connection to his wolf, what happens when he opens that connection during the ritual?" No one answered. Maeve looked at Cassian. His silence was answer enough. The silver wasn't merely traveling toward his heart. It was traveling toward the place where man and wolf met. And tomorrow, Cassian was expected to connect that wounded bond to every crown ward in the north. The danger was larger than one patient. A crash came from outside. Someone shouted. Rhea reached the door first. A royal guard had collapsed beside the horses. His body twisted against the ground as 2 men tried to hold him. "Don't restrain him," Maeve shouted. She ran. The fallen guard's eyes flashed between human brown and wolf gold. Maeve smelled silver, not from a wound, from beneath his skin. Rhea crouched beside him. "Tomas, hear me," he snapped at her. Cassian emerged from the lodge. His posture changed. "Stand down." The words carried sovereign command. Every wolf in the courtyard felt it. Thomas froze. For half a second, then his body convulsed harder. Cassian staggered. Maeve saw pain cross his face. The command had failed. She dropped beside Tomas. Rhea grabbed her wrist. "He'll bite you. He'll bite anyone who tries to control him." Maeve looked at the guard. Tomas. His eyes found hers. "I won't hold you down." His breathing came ragged. "You have to let me touch you." Nothing happened. Then Tomas opened one trembling hand. Maeve placed her palm against it. The second heartbeat struck her immediately. Human, wolf, and something between them was tearing, the same darkness she had felt inside Cassian. Maeve could reach deeper. She knew it. She also remembered the terrible emptiness when her own wolf had vanished. Not again. Not unless there was no other choice. She kept herself at the edge of the connection. "Listen to my voice," Tomas whimpered. "Your wolf isn't attacking you. He's frightened. Stop fighting him." His fingers tightened around hers. Maeve followed the rhythm without pulling the damage into herself. "That's it. Stay together." Gradually, his breathing slowed. The gold faded from his eyes. Tomas sagged against the ground. Maeve sat back. Her hands shook. Rhea stared at her. So did Cassian. Maeve expected suspicion. Instead, Cassian crouched beside Tomas and checked the guard's pulse himself. "What did you do?" "Less than I could have." Cassian looked at her sharply. Maeve regretted the answer. Before he could question it, Rhea found something inside Thomas's glove, a tiny silver needle. Lucan stepped forward. "Let me see." Cassian rose between him and the fallen guard. "No." Lucan stopped. Maeve saw the same flash of tension she had noticed when mentioning the torn archive pages. Cassian saw Maeve notice it. Neither spoke. Rhea wrapped the needle carefully. "Someone reached one of my guards inside this pack." Garrick bristled. "You're accusing Briar Glen?" "I'm stating a fact." Garrick's gaze shifted toward Cassian. "Or perhaps your enemies followed you here because the crown has collected too many enemies." Rhea took a step forward. Cassian raised one hand. Garrick continued. "My brother died under your father's command. 40 wolves died with him because a king decided obedience mattered more than consent." The courtyard became still. Cassian's face revealed nothing. Garrick's voice lowered. "You can force a wolf to kneel with sovereign command. Perhaps you use that gift carefully. What about the king after you?" For once, Maeve couldn't dismiss the question. Neither could Cassian. "My father made choices I won't defend," he said. Garrick seemed surprised. "But poisoning wolves doesn't make them freer. I didn't poison anyone. Then help us find who did." Garrick looked away first. Maeve returned to the lodge after Thomas stabilized. Cassian followed. She cleaned her instruments in silence. "You disagreed with me outside," he said. Maeve glanced over. "About what, Garrick?" "I think he's wrong about what happened here." "That wasn't what I said." Maeve dried the tweezers. "No, I don't think his fear is entirely foolish. A lesser alpha might have taken offense." Cassian pulled out a chair and sat. "Neither do I." That answer changed something. Small, dangerous, real. Maeve turned back to her work. On the shelf above Cassian's shoulder sat the old stone mortar her mother had left her. Cassian noticed it. His eyes narrowed. "What?" He reached toward the mortar, then stopped before touching it. "May I?" Maeve hesitated, then nodded. Cassian lifted it. A worn symbol was carved underneath, 2 open hands surrounding a crescent. Maeve had seen it 1,000 times. Cassian went completely still. From his finger, the royal signet caught the afternoon light. The same symbol was etched inside the ring. Maeve stared between them. "My mother owned that mortar." Cassian looked at her. "Where did she get it?" "I don't know." Outside, Thomas cried out again. Maeve turned toward the door. Before she moved, Cassian caught himself reaching for her arm. He stopped short of touching her. Maeve noticed. So did he. "Go," he said. Maeve ran toward her patient. Behind her, Alpha King Cassian remained beside the ancient mortar, staring at a symbol that should not have belonged to an Omega healer. And beneath Maeve's sleeve, the black mark returned to her wrist. This time, it did not disappear. Maeve had 12 hours to save the Alpha King without becoming the thing her mother had taught her to hide. By sunset, the black mark had climbed from her wrist to the inside of her forearm. She kept her sleeve down. Cassian noticed anyway. He was standing beside the old mortar when Maeve returned from settling Tomas. His eyes moved from her face to the hand she held too carefully against her side. "Show me?" "No." One dark eyebrow lifted. Maeve crossed to the examination table. "You agreed I decide how treatment works." "I did." "Good. Sit." To her surprise, he obeyed. Captain Rhea remained near the door, while Maeve spread 3 bowls across the table. Ground cedar root, charcoal salt, and a bitter green paste used to draw ordinary silver from muscle. Cassian looked at the bowls. "Will that work?" "It needs to." "That's not what I asked." Maeve met his eyes. "I know. The ritual chamber beneath Briar Glen would open at moonrise. If Cassian failed to renew the Blood Moon Covenant, the Crown wards would weaken. If he entered while hollow silver was still cutting through his sovereign bond, Maeve feared something worse. She had one safe solution left. At least she hoped it was safe. For 6 hours, she worked without reaching for the second heartbeat. She packed the wound with cedar paste. She drew 2 nearly invisible silver grains from beneath Cassian's ribs. She made him drink enough bitter tonic that even an Alpha King finally complained. "This tastes like boiled bark." "It is boiled bark." Cassian stared into the cup. Maeve almost smiled. "Kings don't get better medicine. Then monarchy has failed me." The smile escaped before she could stop it. For a few seconds, the lodge felt strangely ordinary. Then Cassian's hand tightened around the cup. A dark vein flashed beneath his skin. Maeve's smile vanished. The hollow silver had moved again, not toward his heart this time, toward the center of his chest, where his human pulse and wolf presence seemed to overlap whenever Maeve sensed that second rhythm. Her treatment had failed. Cassian read the answer in her face. "How bad?" "If the Covenant touches whatever this is, I don't know what happens." "Best guess, it spreads." Rhea swore quietly. Maeve continued. "Not like poison through blood, like damage through a connection." "To the wards?" Rhea asked. "To every bond the wards touch." Cassian stood. Maeve caught his wrist. "I didn't say you should perform the ritual. If I don't, the wards fail. If you do, they may become the weapon." A knock struck the door. Garrick entered without waiting. "The chamber is prepared." Cassian's expression hardened. "We're delaying. You can't. Watch me." Garrick's mouth curved without humor. At moonrise, the old wards either receive the sovereign renewal or begin collapsing. By dawn, every pack bound to the northern line will know the crown failed. Then they'll know. Garrick studied him. "And tomorrow, when border packs withdraw because their protection vanished, when old territorial claims reopen, when wolves die over ground your family promised to secure." There was enough truth in it to hurt. Cassian said nothing. Garrick looked toward Maeve. An Omega healer has convinced a king to gamble with thousands of lives because she thinks she understands a ritual older than this pack. Maeve's spine stiffened. Cassian stepped between them. Maeve touched his arm. He looked back. "Don't." She didn't need him to silence Garrick for her. Cassian understood. He moved aside. Maeve faced Garrick herself. "I understand hollow silver is inside him. Do you?" For the first time, Garrick's composure cracked. Barely, but Maeve saw it. So did Cassian. Garrick recovered. Moonrise. Then he left. Rhea watched the closed door. He knew that name. "Yes," Maeve said. Cassian looked toward the mortar, and I think he knows more than that. Maeve followed his gaze. The matching symbols had troubled her since afternoon. 2 open hands around a crescent, her mother's mortar, Cassian's royal signet. Maeve took the mortar and turned it over. There was a seam around its base she had always assumed was decorative. Cassian crouched beside her. "May I?" She handed it to him. He pressed his signet into the crescent. A click sounded. The base opened. Inside lay a strip of brittle parchment. Maeve's hands went cold. Her mother's handwriting covered one side. Only 6 words remained legible. "When silver severs, open hands restore." Below them was the same symbol, and one word. Heartwarden. Maeve stared at it. A memory surfaced, her mother's fingers closing around Maeve's 9-year-old hand after she had touched the wounded fox. Never reach for the second heartbeat. Not because Maeve had imagined it, because Alara had known exactly what it was. Cassian spoke softly. "Maeve, I need time. You have it." "No, I don't." From beneath the floor came a low vibration. The ritual chamber was waking. Moonrise had begun. The first scream came from outside. Rhea drew her sword and ran. Maeve and Cassian followed her into the square. Tomas was on his knees. 3 other wolves had collapsed around him. One shifted uncontrollably between human and wolf form. Another clawed at his own chest as if trying to reach something beneath it. Maeve smelled silver. Not from a wound, from beneath his skin. Lucan stood near the well. Too near. His medical case was open. Maeve saw an empty glass vial inside. "Lucan," he ran. Rhea moved after him. Garrick stepped into her path. "Nobody leaves the square." Rhea's sword rose. "Move." No Cassian's voice cut across them. Garrick, the Alpha of Briar Glen, turned. Cassian's eyes had gone amber. "What did you do?" Garrick looked around at the suffering wolves. Something like regret passed over his face. Then resolve buried it. "I gave the crown a chance to show us what it really is." Maeve stared at him. "You poisoned your own wolves. Lucan assured me the dose would destabilize their shifts, not kill them. That's your defense?" "My defense is that one man should never possess the power to command every wolf in this square." Cassian went still. Garrick pointed toward Tomas. "Save him, Your Majesty. Use the gift your bloodline calls sacred. Make them kneel. Make their wolves obey." "You don't know what hollow silver does." "I know exactly what kings do when frightened." Maeve saw it then. Garrick wasn't trying to kill Cassian. He wanted witnesses. He wanted Cassian desperate enough to unleash sovereign command on poisoned wolves and prove that royal protection was only domination, waiting for an excuse. Cassian understood too. He could refuse and watch them suffer, or command them, and become Garrick's argument. Tomas screamed again. Cassian made his choice. He stepped forward. "Look at me." Sovereign command struck the square. Wolves dropped to their knees. Maeve felt the force pass through her bones without taking her will. Cassian was controlling its edge, asking for stillness rather than submission. For one breath, it worked. Then Tomas arched backward. A black line flashed across his throat. The other poisoned wolves convulsed. Cassian staggered. The hollow silver inside him had answered the hollow silver inside them. "Stop!" Maeve shouted. Cassian released the command. The wolves collapsed. Beneath Maeve's feet, the ground began to glow. Silver-white lines spread between the stones, running toward the ritual chamber below. The covenant had opened, and it had tasted the corruption. Rhea seized Garrick. His confidence finally faltered. "This wasn't supposed to happen." Maeve rounded on him. "What did Lucan tell you would happen? That the silver would interrupt the sovereign bond. It doesn't interrupt bonds." Maeve looked at Tomas, then Cassian. "It severs them." A bell rang beneath the ground. Once, the ritual had begun. Cassian swayed. Maeve caught him. The instant her skin touched his, the world split open. She saw the second heartbeat clearly. Cassian the man, Cassian the wolf. Between them stretched hundreds of silver threads. Beyond him were other threads reaching outward toward distant packs, and hollow silver was crawling along every one. Maeve tore her hand away. The black mark jumped above her elbow. Her wolf vanished from her awareness. Not faded. Gone. Maeve nearly fell. Cassian caught her this time. What happened? She couldn't answer, because she knew what she could do and what it might cost. No, she whispered. Cassian's grip loosened immediately. Then no. He didn't know what she was refusing. It didn't matter. He had heard the fear. Garrick stared at the glowing ground. If the king leaves the circle now, the wards collapse. If he stays, the corruption spreads, Maeve said. Garrick's face tightened. Then remove it. I can't safely. You're a healer. I'm telling you what I can do. You're an Omega with herbs and a talent for calming frightened wolves. Something inside Maeve became very still. Tomas whimpered behind her. Another poisoned wolf began choking on a broken shift. Maeve looked at them. Her moral boundary had never been complicated. It had only ever been expensive. She turned to Cassian. There may be a way. His expression changed. What price? Maeve hated that he asked the right question. I don't know. That's not true. She looked away. Cassian touched no part of her. Maeve, if I reach deeply enough, I can feel where the silver is cutting the bond. And I may be able to pull it out. Into what? She said nothing. Cassian understood. No. A bitter laugh escaped her. Now who's giving orders? I'm refusing treatment. It's not only you anymore. She pointed toward the wolves in the square. The Covenant already connected them. Cassian looked at Tomas. Maeve saw the moment his refusal became impossible, not because she outranked him, because innocent lives had entered the equation. He looked back at her. I won't command you. Good. But if you choose this, don't lie to me about the cost. Maeve swallowed. I could lose my wolf. Pain crossed his face with startling openness. Before either could speak, Lucan appeared at the ritual stairway. He held a silver activation rod. Rhea turned. Drop it. Lucan looked toward Garrick. We finish this now. Garrick's face changed. Lucan, no. Maeve understood a second too late. Garrick had wanted a political spectacle. Lucan wanted something more. He drove the rod into the glowing stone. The square erupted with light. Every poisoned wolf screamed. Cassian dropped to one knee. Garrick stared at Lucan. You said no one would die? Lucan's expression was almost pitying. Revolutions rarely honor the promises that begin them. He twisted the rod. Maeve heard something inside Cassian tear. That was the line. Not rank, not law, not fear. Someone had knowingly turned wounded wolves into tools. Maeve walked into the center of the glowing circle. Garrick shouted, Get her out! Two enforcers moved toward her. The light struck them backward. Maeve remained standing. Everyone froze. The ancient markings beneath the square changed. Lines that had been silver turned pale gold around Maeve's feet. Two open hands appeared in the stone. A crescent formed between them. Maeve heard Cassian inhale. The mortar, he said. Garrick stared at the symbol. No, Maeve's blackened arm burned. The light climbed toward her palm. Garrick shook his head. That's impossible. Cassian looked at Maeve, and wonder replaced pain for one heartbeat. Heartwarden. The word moved through the square. Lucan stopped smiling. Maeve understood the clues all at once. Her mother's warning, the second heartbeat, the ancient relief, the hidden parchment, the way Cassian's wolf had trusted her before his human mind knew her name. The Covenant wasn't rejecting an Omega. It recognized a healer lineage older than Briar Glen's rank laws. Garrick's face passed through disbelief into recognition, then fear. He looked at the hollow silver, at Maeve, at the ritual markings answering her. The weapon he had allowed into Cassian's body had awakened the one bloodline built to undo it. No, Garrick whispered again. Maeve knelt before Cassian. Do you trust me? His amber eyes held hers. Yes, that isn't permission. Despite everything, something softened in his face. You have my permission, Maeve Arden. She placed both hands against his chest and reached for the second heartbeat. Pain swallowed the world. Silver threads filled her awareness. Maeve found Cassian's wolf first. The enormous black presence was trapped behind a lattice of cold light. It recognized her, not as queen, not as mate, as the woman who had knelt when everyone else approached with restraints. Maeve opened her hands. The first silver thread came free. Agony tore up her arm. A black mark appeared across her shoulder. She kept going. One thread, then another. The corruption resisted, trying to follow the sovereign pathways outward. Maeve pulled it toward herself instead. Her wolf cried out. Maeve nearly stopped. Then she felt Tomas, the other poisoned wolves. Hundreds of distant bonds trembling at the edge of the covenant. She could save them, but not without paying. Cassian's hand closed around her wrist, not stopping her, anchoring her. "I'm here," Maeve pulled. The hollow silver came out of the sovereign bond like darkness dragged from water. The ritual circle blazed. Tomas collapsed into human form. Another wolf stopped convulsing, then another. Lucan ran for the stairway. Rhea tackled him before he reached it. Garrick did not move. He simply watched his victory become evidence against him. Maeve reached the final thread. It was wrapped around Cassian's wolf heart. She could feel her own wolf weakening. If she pulled this one, something might not come back. Cassian sensed her hesitation. "Stop." Maeve looked at him. He meant it. He would accept the corrupted covenant rather than demand this from her. That made the choice hers, completely. Maeve thought of the back gate. "You can go now." Choice mattered only when the door was real. She smiled through the pain. "So can I." Then she chose to stay. Maeve pulled the final thread free. The world went white. The covenant released a sound like a great breath. Every glowing line beneath Briar Glen cleared. The darkness vanished from Cassian's chest. The black marks disappeared from Tomas and the others. The activation rod in Lucan's hand cracked in two. For one impossible second, Maeve felt everything. Cassian's wolf, the distant packs, the old covenant remembering open hands instead of chains. Then it was gone. Maeve fell. Cassian caught her before she struck the stone. "Maeve." His voice sounded very far away. She opened her eyes. Garrick was on his knees, though Cassian had not commanded it. Lucan was bound beneath Rhea's sword. Tomas was breathing normally. The wolves were safe. Cassian was safe. Maeve smiled weakly. "We did it." Cassian didn't smile. He was staring at her face. "What?" Maeve reached inward. She searched for the familiar silver-gray presence that had lived inside her for as long as she could remember. Nothing answered. Her smile disappeared. She tried again. Nothing. Not sleep. Not weakness. Emptiness. Cassian whispered her name. Maeve looked at him. For the first time since the ritual began, genuine terror entered her voice. "I can't feel her." Maeve woke to silence. Not the silence of an empty room. Cassian was beside her bed. Rhea stood near the window. Somewhere downstairs, boots crossed the healer's lodge, and someone spoke in a whisper. This silence was inside her. Maeve reached for her wolf. Nothing. She closed her eyes and tried again, searching for the familiar silver-gray presence that had shared every fear, stubborn thought, and lonely night of her life. There was only herself. Her throat tightened. Cassian leaned forward. "Maeve, I'm fine." His expression made clear what he thought of that answer. She pushed herself upright. Pain moved along her left arm, but the black marks were fading. Tomas, stable. The others, stable. The covenant, clean. Relief came first. Maeve clung to it. Then it worked. Cassian did not answer. Maeve swung her feet to the floor. The room tilted. His hand moved toward her, then stopped several inches away. "May I?" The question hurt worse than if he had simply caught her. Maeve nodded. Cassian steadied her by the forearm. Warmth, strength. "No answering wolf." She'd pulled away. "I need my supplies." "For what? To fix this?" Cassian's face tightened. Maeve, I pulled the corruption through a bond. If I can retrace the path, you nearly died. I didn't. That isn't a medical argument. Despite herself, she almost smiled. Then she reached inward again. Nothing. The almost smile vanished. I know how to heal. Cassian's voice softened. Other people. Maeve stood. Exactly. She spent the next hour proving him right. She mixed cedar root with moonwort. Nothing. She held her mother's mortar against her chest and searched for the second heartbeat. Nothing. Finally, against every instinct that had kept her alive, she placed 2 fingers over her own pulse and reached inward with heart-weaving. Pain exploded through her. Maeve dropped the mortar. Cassian caught her before her knees struck the floor. No, I almost found her. You almost stopped breathing. Let me go. He did, immediately. That made her angrier. Maeve braced both hands on the table. Why aren't you ordering me to stop? Would you obey? No. Then we'd both be angry, and you'd still try again. She looked at him. Cassian's exhaustion had deepened since the ritual. More troubling was what she did not feel from him. That immense pressure usually held behind his voice was gone. Use sovereign command. Rhea, standing at the doorway, looked sharply toward them. Cassian said nothing. Maeve understood. You can't. Not currently. Because of me? Because I chose to hold the sovereign bond open while you came back. Maeve stared. How long? We don't know. You need that ability. I have managed conversations without supernatural coercion before. This isn't funny. No. Cassian stepped closer but left space between them. It was my price to choose. The words struck somewhere Maeve had no defenses. She looked away. I didn't ask you. No. You also didn't ask Thomas whether you should save him. That's different. Why? Because I'm a healer, and I'm a king. Maeve gave a bitter laugh. So this is duty? No. The answer came too quickly to doubt. Cassian lowered his voice. Duty required me to preserve my power. I chose otherwise. Maeve's chest tightened. She hated owing people. Debts became chains. Her mother had taught her that without intending to. Alora had spent years healing anyone who knocked on their door. When she finally needed the pack to defend her after a failed treatment, people who had praised her hands suddenly remembered her rank. Maeve had learned the lesson. Be useful. Need nothing. Then nobody could decide your survival was inconvenient. Cassian watched understanding move across her face. You think accepting help gives someone ownership of the weakness they witnessed. Maeve looked at him sharply. Don't analyze me, then stop making it easy. She should have been furious. Instead, a laugh escaped her. It broke halfway through. Maeve covered her mouth. The first sob followed before she could stop it. She turned away. Cassian did not touch her. That somehow made it safe enough for the next one. I can't hear her. Her voice cracked. She's been there since I was a child. Even when my mother died. Even when the pack... Maeve swallowed. I was never completely alone. Cassian remained beside her. I know. No, you don't. No, he said quietly. I don't. No false reassurance, no promise he could not make, just truth. Maeve lowered her hand. Cassian held out a folded piece of parchment. Rhea had found it inside a sealed compartment beneath the ritual chamber after Garrick's arrest. Maeve recognized the open hand symbol immediately. Cassian read the surviving passage aloud. A heart warden may carry what another bond cannot survive, but no open hand closes upon itself. When the healer cannot find the road home, a willing bond may hold the threshold. Maeve stared at him. The relief. Cassian nodded. The small silver wolf, the giant black wolf, 2 open hands between them. Not a story about one creature saving another, a record of how heart wardens survived. Maeve read the passage again. A willing bond. An anchor, Cassian said. Her gaze snapped to him. No, Maeve. Absolutely not. Interesting. I believe those were my words yesterday. You've already damaged your sovereign bond. Temporarily. You don't know that. Neither do you. She shoved the parchment against his chest. Exactly. Cassian caught it. If I use you as an anchor and something goes wrong, you could lose the ability permanently. Yes, your entire kingdom depends on it. His expression changed. No, my kingdom has depended on believing that. Maeve frowned. Cassian looked toward the window, where Briar Glen wolves moved through the square without bowing under anyone's supernatural will. Garrick was wrong in what he did. He poisoned his own people to manufacture proof, but the question underneath his crime remains. Maeve remembered Garrick's challenge. What about the king after you? Cassian continued. If the northern packs survive only because one bloodline can force obedience, then Garrick was right to fear what the crown could become. You are not your father, and the next king may not be me. He faced her. I would rather lose sovereign command than build peace around the assumption that every ruler will deserve it. Maeve had no answer. Cassian stepped closer. And I would rather lose it for you than keep it, because you're afraid to let anyone share a cost. There it was. The thing Maeve had spent her life avoiding. Not dependence, reciprocity. She had been willing to risk her wolf for Cassian, Tomas, and wolves, whose names she did not know, yet when Cassian offered a sacrifice freely, she wanted to deny him the right she demanded for herself. Choice, her eyes burned. If we do this, I control the heart weaving. Yes, if I say stop, you break contact. Yes, if you feel the corruption returning, I tell you, no heroic silence. A faint smile touched his mouth. That condition seems unfairly targeted. Cassian, I agree, Maeve breathed slowly, then held out her hand. All right. He looked at it. He did not take it immediately. Are you sure? For the first time, Maeve understood why that question mattered so much to him. Yes. Cassian placed his hand in hers. The bond opened, not violently. Warmth spread through Maeve's palm, followed by pine smoke, winter cedar, and the distant sensation of rain against stone. Then she found Cassian's wolf. The enormous black presence stood at the threshold of her awareness. He did not enter. He waited. Maeve nearly cried again. Even his wolf was asking. Come closer, she whispered. The black wolf approached. Maeve reached for the second heartbeat. This time she did not pull anything into herself. Cassian became an anchor, exactly as the old covenant described. A fixed point, a door held open. Maeve searched beyond it. At first, she found only darkness, then pain, then memory, her mother brushing burrs from a small silver wolf's coat, Maeve running through autumn leaves after her first shift, long nights sleeping alone above the healer's lodge while a quiet presence curled inside her thoughts, and beneath all of it, fear, not her fear, her wolf's. Maeve understood. During the ritual, she had dragged so much corruption through their shared bond that her wolf had retreated to protect what remained. Maeve had spent her entire life believing she survived by carrying pain alone. Her wolf had done exactly the same thing. Oh, Maeve whispered. Cassian's hand tightened slightly. What? She's hiding. Can you reach her? Maeve felt the old instinct rise. Pull harder. Fix it. Force herself through the pain. She let the instinct pass. I don't think I'm supposed to. Maeve opened herself instead. No demand, no command, no healing power, just an invitation. I'm sorry, she whispered. The darkness remained. I kept treating you like the part of me that could endure anything. Her voice trembled. You don't have to. Something moved, far away. Silver gray eyes opened in the dark. Maeve stopped breathing. Her wolf took one step toward her, then another. Pain swept through Maeve's chest, but she did not pull. Cassian held the threshold. Maeve waited. Her wolf came home. The connection struck with such force that Maeve cried out. Silver gray fur flashed through her mind. Scent flooded back. Sound sharpened. The world became suddenly, beautifully too large. Maeve laughed through tears. Cassian's wolf threw back his head inside the bond. Not a command, A welcome. Then Cassian collapsed. Maeve caught his shoulders. Cassian. His eyes opened. Human. Clear. She reached for his sovereign presence. Nothing. Her joy faltered. Cassian. Your command. I know. You lost it. For now. And if it doesn't return. He looked at her with maddening calm. Then I'll have to become persuasive. Maeve laughed again, helplessly this time. Cassian smiled. She became aware of how close they were. His hands rested lightly at her waist, only because she had caught him falling. He started to move them. Maeve stopped him. Cassian went still. The mate bond was there. She could finally recognize it separately from heart weaving. Warm, persistent. A possibility, not an order. Maeve touched his face. This doesn't mean I trust destiny. Good. It doesn't mean you get to make decisions for me, I've noticed. And I'm still angry you followed me around as a wolf. That seems unreasonable. You slept outside my bedroom. I was injured. You stole my blanket. I was cold. Maeve stared at him. Cassian's mouth curved. She kissed him, softly, once. Not because a bond demanded it. Because he had asked before, touching her when she was frightened. Because he had let her refuse him. Because he had risked something real without using sacrifice as a chain. When Maeve drew back, Cassian did not chase the kiss. That made her want another. She rested her forehead against his. Outside, morning light reached the square. Rhea appeared in the doorway with an expression suggesting she had been waiting long enough to become professionally irritated. Garrick is secured. Lucan is alive, unfortunately, and talking. Maeve straightened. What did he say? Rhea held up a charred piece of paper. The hollow silver formula wasn't his. Cassian took it. At the bottom was a symbol neither of them recognized, a circle broken by 3 lines of ash. Rhea's expression darkened. Lucan called them the Ash Covenant. Maeve looked at Cassian. A larger danger remained somewhere beyond Briar Glen. But it did not own this moment. Garrick's scheme had failed. The poisoned wolves were recovering. The Blood Moon Covenant was clean. And inside Maeve, a silver-gray wolf stretched after a long darkness and pressed warmly against the bond she had once believed she must protect alone. Cassian offered Maeve his hand. Not an order, not a rescue, an offer. Maeve looked at it, then chose to take it. 3 days after Briar Glen nearly tore itself apart, nobody knelt when Cassian entered the square. Maeve noticed, so did Garrick. The former Alpha stood between 2 royal guards without chains. Cassian had refused them. Garrick had surrendered his authority, his weapons, and the pack seal after Lucan's testimony confirmed he had approved the first hollow silver doses. He had not approved the final activation. That distinction would matter at trial. It did not erase what he had done. I wanted the packs to see the danger of sovereign command, Garrick said. Cassian faced him. You were right to ask whether a king should possess that power without limits. A murmur passed through the square. Garrick looked almost angry at the agreement. Cassian continued. You were wrong when you decided other wolves could pay for your answer. Garrick's gaze moved to Tomas, standing beside Captain Rhea. For once, he had nothing to say. Lucan would face judgment with him. The senior healer had confessed that the hollow silver formula came from a group calling itself the Ash Covenant. A charred ledger suggested the organization reached beyond Briar Glen. Rhea wanted to pursue every name immediately. Cassian agreed. Then he closed the ledger. That threat belonged to tomorrow. Today belonged to the people who had survived it. Cassian's sovereign command had not returned. He seemed less troubled by that than half the royal court. By noon, he had announced that the crown would establish formal limits on any future use of sovereign command. He also suspended every rank restriction preventing trained healers from treating willing patients solely because the healer was an Omega. Then he did something Maeve had not expected. He offered her a royal appointment. She refused. The council chamber became so quiet that Rhea coughed into her hand to hide a laugh. Cassian leaned back. May I ask why? Because Royal Heart Warden sounds suspiciously like a beautiful title for someone everyone expects to obey. Rhea stopped hiding her smile. Maeve placed both hands on the table. I'll serve as Heart Warden if the position is independent of the Alpha King's personal authority in medical decisions. Healers should qualify by training and competence. Patients should have the right to consent. Rank should not decide whose hands are allowed to save a life. One counselor looked horrified. Cassian looked pleased. You planned that speech. I had 3 days. Any other demands? Yes. Maeve slid a written proposal toward him. Cassian read the first page, then the second. His mouth twitched. This is longer than Garrick's surrender agreement. People become very productive after being forbidden to speak. Cassian signed it, not because she was his mate, not because she had saved him, because her argument was sound. Maeve accepted the position. Before leaving the square, Maeve visited the treatment room where Tomas was packing his things. He flexed the hand that had held hers during the worst of the poisoning. I owe you an apology. Maeve raised an eyebrow. For trying to bite me? For assuming your rank told me what you were capable of? That too. Tomas smiled, then became serious. You saved me when I didn't trust you. Maeve thought of Alara. For years, she had remembered her mother's final disgrace more clearly than the hundreds of lives her hands had touched. Briar Glen had taught Maeve to see Alara's ending as proof that giving too much only left a person vulnerable. Now she understood a different part of the lesson. Her mother had not been wrong to heal. She had been wronged by a system that demanded sacrifice from her and offered no protection when she needed it. Maeve did not have to repeat that bargain. She could keep her mother's compassion without inheriting her loneliness. Before Tomas left, Maeve took Alara's mortar from the shelf. The open hand symbol no longer looked like a warning. It looked like permission to give, to refuse, to receive. All three mattered. That evening, she returned to the healer's lodge alone. Almost heavy footsteps followed her across the herb garden. Maeve did not turn around. You know, she said, the first time you followed me here, you had 4 legs. I was more graceful then. Debatable. Cassian came beside her. His royal coat was gone. He wore a simple dark shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms. Without guards, ceremony, or the pressure of sovereign command, he looked less like the figure carved into royal coins. Maeve preferred him this way. They walked around the lodge. The old back gate stood open. Maeve stopped. For a moment she was back beneath the fading moon, exhausted and frightened, with blood on her hands and an enormous black wolf refusing freedom. Cassian touched the gatepost. You repaired it. You broke the latch with your shoulder. I was injured. You've used that defense before. It remains accurate. Maeve smiled. Her wolf stirred warmly inside her. Cassian felt the change through the mate bond, but he did not step closer until Maeve reached for his hand. They stood together before the open gate. Beyond it, the forest waited. You remember what I told you that morning? Maeve asked. Cassian looked toward the trees. You can go now. Her chest tightened. You understood me, every word. Then why didn't you leave? He was quiet long enough that Maeve knew the answer mattered to him. When I was a boy, people approached me because of what I would become. When I became king, they approached because of what I could give them, what I could destroy or what they feared I might take. He turned toward her. Even kindness usually came with a hand around the latch. Maeve said nothing. You cut silver out of me without knowing my name. You asked permission from a wolf everyone else wanted restrained. Then, when I could finally stand, you opened the gate. His thumb moved across her fingers. You wanted nothing. Cassian, you gave me the right to leave before you ever asked me to stay. Maeve's eyes burned. Cassian looked back at the forest. I think my wolf recognized you before I understood why. Perhaps the mate bond helped him recognize something in you. Perhaps the Heart Warden bond did too. His gaze returned to hers, but neither bond made me sit beside you. Maeve remembered the enormous animal looking at freedom, then turning away from it. That was your choice. Yes. And now? Cassian smiled. The gate is still open. Maeve laughed softly. Good answer. It took me 3 days. Needs editing. He drew closer. Maeve. She kissed him before he could defend himself. Later, beneath the first stars, they shifted at the forest edge. Cassian's black wolf was still enormous. Maeve's silver-gray wolf was not. She trotted around him once, deliberately inspecting his healed ribs. He endured this indignity with royal patience. Then Maeve's wolf lay in the grass. Cassian could have run into the forest. Instead, the black wolf lowered himself beside her. The gate remained open behind them. Neither moved toward it. Somewhere beyond Briar Glen, the Ash Covenant still existed. There would be names to uncover and old powers to question. But that was another road. This one had reached home. Perhaps that was the truth Maeve had needed all along. Love was not proven because someone had no way to leave. A bond, a crown, fear, or need could keep almost anyone beside you. The harder gift was freedom, an open hand, an open gate, and someone who stayed anyway. So let me leave you with one question from Maeve and Cassian's story. Was Garrick wrong to fear the king's power, or only wrong in what he was willing to sacrifice to stop it? If this journey stayed with you, you can like, share, and subscribe for more stories where love is earned by choice rather than demanded by destiny. And wherever you're listening tonight, may peace rest gently over your home. May you and your family have health, happiness, and safety. May love find you without asking you to become smaller, and may strength meet you when the road is hard. May hope remain when answers are distant, and may God watch over the people you carry in your heart. May every door you need open at the right time, and when you find a place where you are free to leave, but deeply wish to stay, may you have the courage to call it home.